Episode 5 of Series 2 of our OR Talks podcast. Today we'll be joined by one special guest to discuss all things R&D. Here are your hosts, Neil Seeger
and Mark Jovanovic.
So we're joined today by Joe, one of our senior tax specialists. Thank you for joining us, Joe.
You're welcome.
So we're here to talk about R&D, something that Mark and myself know nothing about. So hopefully you know an awful lot more than we do.
It's going to be like a school day for us.
Every day's a school day.
Every day. Well, every podcast was a school day. Apart from the one where Mark was our specialist, and then it wasn't a school day for him.
No.
Hopefully not.
I was a teacher, wasn't I? Yeah.
Google was amazing that day. Not joking, Mark. I'm joking. So Joe, what is R&D? What does this research development thing mean?
So it's basically where a company, because it has to be a company, it can't be an individual.
Okay, just has a limited company.
It has to be a limited company. Okay. Carries out a project that they don't know what the outcome's going to be, effectively. So there's some uncertainty that they don't know if what they want to achieve can be done. Right. So they have to do some research into the project. Okay. Maybe build a prototype. Yeah. And figure out whether something can happen. So it could be a product, a process, different material used in the industry. Can't be for the company. It's got to be for an industry sector specific. Okay. So like an appreciable improvement in something in that industry. So it has to be something. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something new, as in sort of brand new, or could it be it can be concept? Adapting something that's already out there. Yeah. Making it greener, cheaper, more efficient. Appreciable improvement on it. It can't just be like a little upgrade. So like every time you upgrade your phone, it's got something slightly different on it. It's got to be something new, but it's got to be something that a competent professional working in the company couldn't go, oh, that's the answer. Right. You've got to do a little bit of research into it. Put a bit of work into it, I suppose. Yeah. Taxman doesn't make it easy, does he? Bullshit. No, they definitely don't, because they're really targeting now that the information that we give when we put the claim in answers all the questions that they want. Because back when I thought of R&D and research development, when I first started, I always thought it was test tubes and lab coats. People there in, actually all science based. You say they're all science, but it's actually not. It could be absolutely anything, and it's probably for a lot of our client companies a lot less test tubes and white coats. It's just a new product out on the market. So how do I benefit from it? So if let's just say I don't know, I go and make phones, not a bad example, phones, because they're all changing all the time. So I go and make out the Neil phone. Okay, I've put lots of time into it, loads of effort, and I've finally got this product to market. Obviously, a phone's not a new thing. There's millions and millions of phones out there. There has been for a long time. I come out with the Neil phone. A Neil phone. A Neil phone, yeah. That does something, I don't know, completely different. Yeah. It's got to do something completely different because the information that you're trying to resolve cannot be out there in the public domain already. And to do a claim, you've got to have made sure that you've done as much research as you can that it's not out there. Right, okay. So depending on what size your company is, you can make a claim to HMRC to get some tax relief. Okay. So you'll either do it as an SME claim. So if you're a small company, less than 500 employees, you can do a claim under the SME where you will get the 100% of the cost is in your accounts already, and you get another uplift of 130% on top. Okay,
so 230%.
230%.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
That is amazing. So for every £1 I spend, I get tax relief on £2.30.
Although the rates have just come down. Oh,
so we're okay. So we're talking
historically.
What I'm used to. Okay.
Because you're always we're looking backwards. So
if I do a claim, because obviously they're on tax years. Yeah. So no, it's done on your financial year. Okay. So you can go back and do 2 years after the end of the year end. Okay. Yeah. Fine. So if your year ends December, you can look at December 21 and December 22. Right. Okay. So the 130%, 230% will cover those periods. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When you come to do December 23, so there'll be like a split year from the 1st of April. Right. And the rates are slightly coming down. Okay. That makes things nice and simple. Yeah. So they're coming down to 86% uplift. Okay. So for every £1,
you've got 180.
I get £1. I got an extra 86
P effectively on top of it. Okay, that's still pretty good.
Still worth it.
Yeah, good maths for you as well.
Tell you what, you know what I mean?
Where's the calculator?
I don't need to calculate for those. I'm still on my fingers.
So that wouldn't be a tax reduction. But if you're a loss-making company, you don't lose that either, because if you create some losses, you can surrender them for the R&D tax credit.
So what do you mean by surrender then? What happens then?
So normally losses, you could either carry them back, carry them forward, use against other group companies.
Yeah.
You can actually surrender them. So you give them up and you surrender them for 14.5% before the 1st of April.
Yeah.
And you get a refund of the losses you surrender at 14.5%, up to a maximum of 300% of the PAYE and national insurance that you paid over to HMRC in that year.
Okay.
It's just a little, the PAYE cap is something that was recently introduced in April 2021.
Okay.
And then after the 1st of April, it's down to 10%. So it's still worth doing for loss-making companies if you know you're not going to be able to use them going forward or elsewhere in a group.
If you've got decent national insurance and PAYE, because if you're, for example, if you're one director in your own limited company and you've done everything yourself, you've got loads of hours, you've done all that, and actually you pay no PAYE because you're doing it with it, and you've got the £12 or whatever it is, £1,500 national insurance or whatever, you can't get a massive
so there is a lower ceiling on the PAYE cap that you can have up to £20,000, so it's 300% plus £20,000. So the smaller one-man band who's maybe subcontracted his R&D out can still make a claim.
He's
not losing out.
He's not losing out. You might not get the full benefit of that. But the balance you can carry forward, can't you? So you still
carry it forward.
So you can have years potentially of not paying tax if you're a profit-making company.
Yeah.
So how interesting. So I didn't realise if you're a loss-making and that you could actually still get some tax back.
Sort of cash incentive there for doing it.
Massively.
And this is what HMRC's intention was to incentivise companies to invest in science and technology.
Developing new products,
I think I saw a stat a couple of years ago now. I can't remember the exact stat now, but actually it's only a small percentage of companies that actually qualify, actually make a claim.
Oh yeah, there's lots out there, but it's because you have to jump through hoops with HMRC and you have to make sure that you've got a technological report and the finance is done. And a lot of people just don't even realise the relief's there.
Well, they don't realise it's there because they're just doing their job. They don't see in their mind that they're actually doing anything different because they're trying to find a new product to enhance what they're doing. But actually, it's revolutionary for their industry.
Yeah. And that's where we come in, just to advise them to.
I was going to say, so where do we come in then? All the hoops they've got to jump through. What can we help?
Going forward, there has been some changes where if you've never made a claim before, we're going to be key to making sure that they tell the revenue 6 months after the year end that they're going to make a claim. It's something new that's come in. Whereas up until now, we could just do it retrospectively for 2 years. So when we do the accounts, spot that they're the type of company that might have done something, ask them the question. Yeah. Going forward, it's going to be a little trickier because if they haven't made a claim in the last 3 years, we've only got a 6 month window to let HMRC know that they're going to make a claim. So
if you don't notify them in 6 months, the claim's gone.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to do it. So it's going to put an end to this retrospective claim.
Yeah. Well, they've got a bit strong there, haven't they?
They have got really harsh. They're trying to sort of get rid of the, I want to say dodgy claims.
The more
questionable claims. So where companies are just putting it in on the off chance that it's going to save them some tax and they haven't really thought about what they're doing and whether it qualifies, because there are some guidelines that you have to sort of meet.
Yeah, so as long as I notify them within 6 months, I've still got longer to do it. I just have to notify them within 6 months.
Yes, you just have to notify them within 6 months.
So if you've already made claims, you're fine.
If you've made claims in the last 3 years, absolutely fine. You just carry on making them on your tax return with a technical report and a financial report and the name of the senior official at the company, all on the claim submitted with our tax return, which we do everything for them.
Yes, that should make that. It should make it easier with us. And just going back to when Mark says how can we make things easier? So it's not something you can just go off and do yourself. You can't go. I don't think you can you? With all the financials, the report, everything that comes with that.
You'll know the technical side of it. So the guys that have done the project will know the technical information that needs to go into the technical claim, but then they've got to know the finances and the time spent by staff. So it's probably a collation of a lot of people doing some work. And we work with some engineers who between us, we do all of that for the companies.
So the technical report's not done by an accountant as such; it's done by an engineer,
a mechanical engineer, a computer engineer, somebody that's got an R&D engineering background helps us out to write those technical reports.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so that's good then, isn't it? Because if you are a small company, you probably haven't got the resources to do all of that yourself.
No.
So we can go in there and help out.
And we can tell them how, what they need to have met on the criteria to whether they've done R&D, their projects qualifying.
I suppose we do the financials.
We do the financials.
Accountants and tax consultants, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's quite a narrow range of costs that you can claim, and it's your employment costs, so gross wages, ERS-NI, ERS national insurance, employers' national insurance, and employers' pension.
Is that all employment costs, or just people working?
Just people that have worked directly on the project. Not your support staff, just directly on the project. If you're in a group scenario where you've got one company in the group that deals with all the employment costs and then another company do the R&D, you can claim for externally provided workers, but you only get 65% of the cost.
Oh, right.
So it's as though they've subcontracted them.
Oh, there's a lot of detail in this.
There is a lot of detail.
It's not getting one mark. What is it? What sort of base is it? I know you're saying it.
I'm going to say, you say it.
It's Mark says on every podcast, everything's a case by case basis. Yeah. So it's all looking at the project and looking at the costs and looking at everything. And actually, not one claim is even the same.
No,
they're all going to be very, very, very different.
You've got to get the technical. Have I got a qualifying project to start with, and then build everything up on that.
Yeah, that's hard. That's the bit that I wouldn't have a clue on that bit. I've probably got a lot of the financials, but
and that's the bit that stops most companies claiming.
Yeah. But then having people like us around that can do all those sort of things, it's perfect.
Yeah.
So we can all help and support and step in and make their life easier and hopefully get them a tax refund.
Get them a tax refund,
or a tax
saving,
or at least something. Because if it is there, it's worth even if the piddly 186%, it's still fantastic.
Definitely better than nothing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is. I said piddly sarcastically. But, I mean, it's fantastic that it's there to get that. I know it's not 230, but it's still.
What there is another scheme that you can claim under. So even if you're not a small company, you can claim under the RDEC scheme.
What is that?
It's even more complicated.
I've never heard that before.
So if you've got a company with more than 500 employees, you don't lose out. You make a claim under RDEC. Same qualifying projects requirements, same costs that you can claim on, apart from subcontracted, because an RDEC claim can't claim for subcontracted costs.
Okay.
That an SME claim can do. But you get a 20% taxable credit, so you pay tax on it at 19% at the moment.
Yeah.
But then you get to deduct from your tax liability your total R&D spend times 20%.
Okay.
So what if you're not paying tax in that company?
So if you're loss making in that company, you get an RDEC tax credit, which works out at about 15%. Okay. So you have to leave a notional tax credit aside, and you get the difference back. You can surrender it to other group companies, or you can have it back in that company, or you can carry forward
and use
it in another year. So large companies don't lose out.
So large companies do that, and then if you've got a group and you're a small, you're classified as an SME, you can then group relieve. Can you group relieve?
So you can group relieve losses.
So you can group relieve the losses, and actually just because you've got an R&D company that incurs all the costs doesn't mean that
it has to be used there. Yeah. Not if you're in a 75% group, you can group relieve around.
Okay, that's so you can share it around. As long as it's owned 75% or more.
Owned 75% or more, then you've got a group for group relief. The claim's done in the company that's going to own the IP, incurred all the costs. But once you've got your losses, you can do what you want with them.
Amazing. This R&D sounds extremely exciting, doesn't it?
It is, yeah.
I actually
it's saving people money, isn't it?
Saving people money, so it's
and actually, it is. But it's knowing that actually that if you are changing, if you're changing something or enhancing something or actually creating something new, it's important to actually ask the question. Because you'd rather be asked the question and be told no than never ask and never get.
Yeah, and I think you said it doesn't have to be a product, does it?
It can be a process. It can be material that you use in something. You could go on then to patent it, and then you can look down the route of patent box. R&D.
That's another podcast.
That's not for today.
That wasn't me volunteering.
Tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, patent boxing, that's another thing that is a very small bit of legislation that a lot of accountants miss and tax consultants
miss. And a lot
miss.
of people don't get know, and that's where any item you sell that you've had as a qualifying project for your R&D, so you've got an R&D factor in there, you only pay tax at a lower rate completely of 10%.
On that whole item.
Yeah. That's even better, isn't it?
And and there's an R&D factor in that, so the two sort of cross over.
Yeah.
If you go down the route of patenting what you've designed.
I've got a question. I said I wasn't going to go down this route. I've got more questions.
Well, so keep those for another time.
Well, I'm not asking that while I'm here. So if I've got a Neil phone, right? Okay. So a Neil phone has got a chip in it, right? And this chip I've done R&D on and done all that sort of stuff. If Neil phone that's got that chip in, I sell.
Yeah.
Well, that whole product, classic.
The whole product, because you're using something in it that's got the
Neil chip,
patented
the
Neil chip. The Neil chip. Yeah. So effectively, any income generated from that patented item will qualify for patent box.
Well, and that's something that was really actually valuable. I've spoken to a lot of clients that they were never even aware of that. And a lot of other professionals that are never aware of it.
There's a few criteria, so it's got to be patented in certain areas, and there's got to be that you've genuinely done the R&D to create that item. Other than that, it's just a case of working out the income from it.
Fantastic. See, it's all that stuff just from R&D, then you get patent boxing as well. And that was a little freebie you're giving us there.
A little lazy. Lost it in.
I could talk about tax for hours.
I don't know. You're still awake. If you're still awake, we've got another couple of hours of this.
I think no one's driving while they're listening.
Well, hopefully not. We've made it really exciting with the R&D, and then we've got on to, and then we can just go off to other topics that are less enjoyable, and then we can go back to R&D, and then they'll be like, I'm awake again.
You're in personal tax and other taxes.
Yeah, we'll talk about national insurance.
National insurance.
We've done that.
No, we're not doing that one. Yeah. Not just yet. Anyway, we keep on positive, exciting topics like R&D and tax refunds. Is there anything else to bear in mind with it in the R&D world, Jad?
I suppose it's really HMRC's stance at the moment. Obviously, they've done a lot to the legislation recently that you do have to make sure you've crossed everything off their criteria to make sure, otherwise they will sort of ask more questions, effectively open an inquiry. And they are trying to wheedle out the not great R&D companies that are out there. So as long as we can meet all the criteria in the BOE's guidelines, then and it's a qualifying project and we're happy it's a qualifying project, there's no reason why you shouldn't do this.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, so I suppose it's fantastic from that point of view, but if you are going to put in one that's a bit of a naughty claim, they're going to catch you out.
They're going to catch you out. They are sort of really tightening up on R&D, and it's not because they don't want to give the money away. It's just that
they want it to the right people.
It's got to go to the right people.
Yeah, that's the problem with these sort of things. You always get people taking advantage of them, don't you? So.
Yeah, but then eventually, as we all know, they get caught up with eventually, and they then pay the penalties or whatever come with that. So luckily none of ours are any of those. They're all as Joe says, they're all proper.
Yeah, but that's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. We don't put in any claims that we don't feel we could stand up and defend with HMRC.
Yeah,
because as part of us doing the claim, we also would then answer any questions.
Exactly. And everyone's got their mate down the pub that will say, "Oh yeah, my mate did a claim for I don't know, something that was already there." Well, he probably did, or she probably did, but that doesn't mean it's not going to get caught up with a question.
At some point,
but actually, at least we know that all ours are very stable claims.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you don't get your fingers burned, then, do you?
No.
You don't. Because people will do it all the time. People will try and pull fast ones, but they don't. So yeah, very robust the word.
Robust claims,
claims. That's the one. Stable's a bit flimsy.
Watertight's even better.
We're gonna get that. I think it's I think the message is there that if you've got a genuine or you think there's a genuine claim there, please come forward and let's look at it.
Well, if you're unsure, it's probably come and ask us, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you think you might have something.
We went out this morning to clients and we just talked to them about what R&D was. Their technical guys are going to go away and have a think about it. Okay. We'll help them decide whether they've got a qualifying claim before we even start doing any work on it.
Yeah, you've got nothing to lose by having a conversation with us. Yeah,
exactly. Nothing. Yeah, nothing to lose, Mark. So we've gone through it. Another one. I was literally trying to say before you start a project, actually you want to start looking at that as well. Yeah. That might make a difference to what you do.
That's one of the good thing that stands up well with HMRC is having a timeline. So when you decide you're trying to try and resolve something, and at each stage when you build a prototype, just having a timeline, and that's all something you've got to think about actually before you do your accounts and your tax return.
Yeah.
And it's educating everybody that's probably the best thing that will stand up with HMRC is having a timeline of what you've done.
And forward planning.
It's
gives a robust claim. anything, yeah. Forward planning creates a robust claim. Yeah, there you go. Like on your t-shirt in the club shop.
Next to the Neil phone.
Next to the Neil phone. With the Neil chain. I always come up with little things. It just makes it easier for me to understand, to be honest.
I don't think phones were the best example, though, because there's a lot of them out there.
He's normally a plumber. So.
Okay. You can't really think of anything new with that one, though.
Plumbing?
Yeah.
That'd be a way of flushing a toilet that's different, I'm sure.
Saves water, greener.
Yeah, okay. Well, go on then, carry on.
So instead of pressing a button, you can have it, it's like you pop your hand over and it flushes.
That's the service station down on the motorway does that.
Well, don't know.
See, but the Neil phone and the Neil chip.
He's already got SIM cards in phones, so...
What does the Neil phone do that's different?
Answer the phone for you. You have to press the button.
What, you don't know answer the phone?
I talk to you and it answers anyway.
Exactly. Can't watch them anyway, can you? Then it has to answer. I didn't say the Neil phone, the Neil chip was the best invention.
I think everyone...
I just want to claim R&D.
Everyone here is seeing why we do what we do. We don't design products. I'm designing things that are already designed.
Yeah, I'm good at we ones that
nobody wants.
Joe sorting the report up.
Oh, dear.
It's Joe. Thanks for listening to us today. I've learned a lot about R&D, and I appreciate you giving us the insight, Joe.
That's no problem.
Thanks very much, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. I hope you've learned a lot about R&D. If you've got any questions about it, please get in touch with Joe and she'll be able to help you out. Next time, we're going back to the start because it's our 1 year anniversary now.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Oh. Yeah, so we've got no special guests.
Who's a special guest?
Just me and you, just the two of us.
The most special of guests.
Back to the dream team. If you've got anything you want to us to bring up there, just drop us a WhatsApp on 01905 777 600. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.